So today's guest is a 17-year-old guy closing 300K month in sales and able to buy a penthouse in Houston, Texas. He left home and school at 16 to fund his dreams, and against all odds, he made it. Today we are here with one of the best young sales closer in the world, Andres Contreras.
Thank you.
Hello, Andres, and welcome to Edo Daves podcast. It's a pleasure for me to have you here.
Pleasure is mine, brother. How you doing, my friend?
So I'm good, thank you. And let's dive in. Take us back to the beginning. You come from a pretty regular background, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just going to my childhood. I mean, great childhood. Loving parents, sports, middle-class family, like just kind of easy, the normal. That was like how I grew up. And I think there was benefits and negatives to that. I think ultimately, even though people like to think of having a hard childhood as a bad thing, I think in reality it's one of the best things that can happen to you because it's what develops you mentally in a different way that other people don't get developed. And so like for me, I was never developed in that way. I never had that mental strength. I never had that feeling of like, can I eat tomorrow? Like, where am I staying? And so I had to learn to kind of develop that on my own, but I'm sure we'll go into that a little bit later in the journey.
Yeah, so when you first started to think about business, what did you motivate you in the first place? What were you doing before that?
Yeah, so this is an interesting point. I never felt like I fit in with the people I was around. And I think naturally when you feel like you don't fit in, even if it's because you're maybe better than the people that you're around, you'll always assume that it's because you're worse, you're inferior. And so I made that assumption in my mind because I was just a regular 16-year-old high school kid. I had no idea what the hell I was doing with life, right? And so like my assumption was like, oh, I am inferior to these people. And so I needed to find a way to get out of that. So at the beginning, it was sports for me, right? And so I went into soccer. I would go really, really hard, playing 5 hours a day alone, going to all the trainings, everything, until eventually I actually made it to the semi-pro level. But after that, I ended up getting injured. And so I cracked my ulna and my radius through the middle, and it was like twisted 180 degrees backwards. It was bent and just completely snapped. It's like the worst thing I could possibly do. And that's a 9-month recovery period. And so after that, my first game back, I break it again. Exact same injury. So I was out for a year and a half. In that period, I started realizing it was like, I knew I didn't want to go back to partying or drinking or doing anything stupid because like I'd already realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. But I also didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And that's when I discovered business. And that became my new obsession, my new like soccer, if you will. That's how I got into it.
And then what made you like take the right people, the right mentors, and arrive at this point?
I wasn't even worried about what the right mentor was. I wasn't worried about if I was doing the right business model. I just needed something to obsess over. And this is an issue a lot of people have in the world is they try and go after perfection when they don't even have the first step. So like, I'll give you an example. Me, I've never been a genius. Like, okay, I'm very intelligent, right? Humbly speaking. But like, I would always get 1% better, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. But if I did that every single day over the course of a year, now I'm here, 17 years old with 3 penthouses and everything I want. And the kid that never started is still in high school not doing anything. That's the difference. And so I think that was the biggest lesson for me of like, I didn't know if it was the right mentor. I didn't know if it was the right business model. But it was just about doing something. And that's what gave me the edge.
And what did your parents say when you started and what's happened?
I love them, number one, just to preface everything, but it was a pain in the ass. And the reason why, when I wanted to set up a payment processor, my parents didn't want to help me with it. And you need obviously somebody of age to help you with it. They didn't want to help me with it. So I had to convince them for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. They're both professors at a university. And so this is just about as far away as I could possibly be from their path. Like there's nothing further that I could be doing except for maybe like drug dealing or something. But like they hated it at the beginning. And it was always like, yeah, you can do this. I love that you love it, but also get like A grades and stuff. And so it was always like that mismatch of like, okay, you have a passion for this. When I showed them my first like 30 grand a month or something, they were like, okay, cool. Like no reaction. And I was like, well, that sucks. So that's kind of like my parents' perspective on all of it. I love them though. I love them.
Yeah, and then how did you manage to do everything when you are still under 18 and it's like you had to stop school, you have to stop taking the path of everyone else. How did you do that and how is going?
I think it's going back to what I was saying earlier. I think the number one characteristic that makes somebody successful in the world is mental toughness, mental strength. If you have the ability to get rejected 1,000 times and keep doing it, that's how you succeed. Because in business, in entrepreneurship, there's going to come that day when you feel tired and you feel like shit in your mind and something happened or somebody said something to you. And all you have to say is just one more day. And then the next day you feel tired, whatever it is, one more day. Next day feel tired, one more day. Because all of those days that you push forward, somebody else didn't push forward that day. They dropped off. Until eventually you're the last one standing. And I think that goes back to the same core principle of like, the more mental toughness you have, the more successful you'll be. And so for me, since I didn't grow up with that difficult childhood or anything, I had to create that for myself, right? And that's where like working nonstop, me making those moves, for example, of like going to, not a lot of people know this story. When I moved away from my home, I didn't even tell my parents because I asked them and they said, Andres, you cannot move no matter what. And so I told them, okay, I'm going to go on this business trip for 3 days and I'll be back. And as I'm leaving out the front door, my mom like taps on my shoulder and she's like, oh, when do you come back, by the way? And I was like, oh, no, like I'll let you know in the Uber. Like he's already here. And I went outside. Turns out I never had a return ticket and I didn't see him for 3 months. But doing shit like that, it's extremely uncomfortable. It's extremely difficult. It's absolutely out of the norm. But it's also those difficult things that allows you to shape your own independence and create that mental toughness if you never had to develop it growing up. That's my core belief. And so that's where that kind of played in a part, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you first started in sales, how many ventures that failed have you had before that?
I tried drop shipping, failed. I tried website design, failed. Tried an agency. Because most people are broke, so they would say that this is not a failure. I got to 36K a month, but then it failed. I went into sales, like high ticket sales. I sold for a company called RSC, and then I sold for Serve Others. I was the number one rep at both of them, collected more than the rest of the team combined, tripled everybody's close rates. But ultimately, I'd consider it a failure because I couldn't really convince them to get more leads. There was no growth from it, so I guess you could call that a failure. And then going into 7th level Inc. 500 company, that's the first where it wasn't a failure in my mind. It was not. I destroyed everybody. I blew them out of the water. They were all 30 years older than me, and I knew I did what I knew I was capable of. I was competing not with the other people, but with what I knew I could do. And I think that's success. So it was, if you count that up, what is that, 5 failures before I actually did something I considered worthy?
Yeah, but that's where most people stop. Most people stop at the first one, at the second one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's the fact that you continued going after failure and failure and failure. This made you successful. And
yeah, because going back to what I was saying, it's it's that one day mentality of just one more day. Just give it my all one more time. And when you're able to push past that and go through, even when it's that hard, that uncomfortable, that difficult, then you push through, you succeed, and the other people don't. So exactly to your point, exactly right.
Yeah, we actually arrived at the point where we are trying to understand better what are you doing right now. So what does a typical day look like for you right now?
A typical day, I think earlier in my career when I was trying to build the mental toughness, I had to do stuff that wasn't necessarily productive, but it really was productive because I would do it to build mental strength. Even if it didn't directly make me money, I don't really need to do that as much now. I still do, but not as much. And so I'll usually work until 1 to 2 a.m. And then I will go to bed. I'll usually wake up around 8. So I'll average, 6 hours of sleep a day, whatever it is. When I wake up, shower, put on clothes like a normal person, and then just get to work, bro. Just work. I'll do some podcasts. I'll have some meetings. Most of my stuff now is honestly asynchronous, like operations and like content, stuff like that. Especially because, and I'm sure we'll go into it in a little bit, the consulting business and all that, I have to do a lot of back-end operations for the businesses that we consult for. And so that's like most of my day. I'll take a couple meetings here and there. And then all my meals, I Uber Eats them. They arrive right outside my door of my penthouse, and then I eat it, and then I go back to work. That's basically my day, 7 days a week, every day.
Yeah, that's crazy. What prospect or deals are you currently working on? So what are the things you are focusing on at the moment?
Yeah, so we have a consulting business. This is the first, at least that I've seen, like done for you consulting business. And what I mean by that, we'll go into organizations doing between like 500K to like 1.5 million a month, sometimes smaller ones if we see like a lot of potential in it. Yash is my business partner, we'll sell the offer ourselves to like get the conversion rate up, build out a sales process, document everything, and then we'll recruit, train, and manage a team afterwards and put them in place. And then we don't do any like upfronts or anything like that. I don't believe in that, because then you have a sales manager who's like, do this, do that, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And so like we only work on rev share on performance basis, and that's basically the consulting that we're doing.
Yeah. And how do you find and close $300K month in sales?
I think it comes down to, if I had to give you a very clear answer, I think it comes down to, number one, outworking everybody. Just, that's like a constant. That's not enough, but it's a necessary. I think number two, it also comes down to mental toughness. Actually, change my answer. Number one is mental toughness. Because if you have the mental toughness, you'll do the work, regardless. And so I think the number one key factor is mental toughness. I think the second one is developing skill sets and being willing to do what it takes. So like for me, last year I spent $55,000, $60,000 on just coaching, consulting, mentoring by myself. Right? My business partner Yash, he spent $250,000 last year on that. Right? So like there's different levels. Having a certain level of commitment to actually learning, because if you learn from your own mistakes rather than other people's mistakes, you'll make 1,000 fucking mistakes. I don't have time for that. Who does? Nobody has time for that. Just making every mistake constantly, not making any money. Like, I don't want to do that. And so like learning from other people's mistakes rather than mine, and then just having a stronger work ethic than anybody else through that mental toughness. I think those are the two biggest kind of factors. Yeah, that'd be my answer. There's obviously more nuances and specifics, but that's like the framework.
Yeah. What is the industry you are focusing right now, you are working right now? It's like, what is the focus?
For my clients, is what you're saying? A mix of fitness and high ticket. Those are like the two kind of biggest industries for us.
And are you working solo with your business partner or with a team?
Oh, we have a team. We have a team of fucking S players. We have a guy named Huston. He does a lot of like Hormozzi's content for like some of his companies. I can't say which ones. He did all of Jeremy's stuff to blow him up from the very beginning with all his organic content. We have a guy named Peter Liu. He was the head copywriter for Dan Lok, which Dan Lok got to like multiple millions a month, and the head copywriter for Jeremy, the CMO for Jeremy. They're both on our team. And then all of the like people that we recruit onto a team with us after we go into it are all one-on-one coaching clients in sales that are paying us $4,000 a month. That's the only reason we even do coaching in the first place, like one-on-one. And like, it's not public anywhere. You cannot join it randomly. Like, I have to qualify people very, very hard, because if they're not going to have the work ethic, the commitment, or if I just don't like them, right? Then like, I'm not going to coach them. They're not going to go into an offer with me. And so we'll coach a couple of people one-on-one, and then they'll kind of join the offers with us. So we have a team of like absolute A players.
How do you manage pressure and stress at such a young age?
I don't believe in it. People will go their entire life saying, I'm stressed, this is difficult, I hate it, fuck my life, I'm screwed. And then how do they feel? They feel, oh, I'm stressed, my life is difficult, this sucks, I'm shit. Whatever you tell other people is what you end up believing. If you say something enough times with enough conviction, eventually you will believe it, and you will act like it. And if you act like it, the results you get will be in accordance with it. So I think fundamentally believing you're stressed, I think, is the issue. If you didn't even put a name to stress, a label to stress, and you never went around telling yourself and other people that you were stressed, you would never feel stressed. And so I think fundamentally that's a flawed concept, a flawed question. For me, like, so what if it's stressful, if it's pressuring, if it's difficult? I have shit to do. Regardless if I feel stressed, I'm going to have to do it, one way or another. When I stopped believing in the concept, that's when life got so much easier. It's the same thing with anything else. You go around all day with your shoulders hunched over, oh, I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm tired, I'm sad, complaining, whining like a little bitch, and then you feel tired, and then you feel sad.
Yeah, so you are saying you are what you think about. Is this
exactly.
something correct?
You are what you think about, and you are what you say. It's both.
Yeah, there's a famous quote that says, your thoughts are your words are your actions.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's why, like, if you think about it even, you can have, and this is an example that Tony Robbins gives, and I love it, you can have a poor kid in Africa who has no money, no water, no food, nothing, and he's the happiest kid in the world, and many of them are. Or you can have the billionaire who has all the relationships, all the women, all the money, and then they end up suiciding. So the difference isn't what they have, it's their internal representation of what they have. And their internal representation is their thoughts, their words. The billionaire goes around saying, fuck, this isn't working, this isn't working. I don't have enough money. I have $1 billion, but somehow I don't have enough money. I don't have enough relationships. The kid in Africa is like, just feels loved. He gets to play soccer on a fucking piece of dirt. Happiest kid in the world. Because what you say, you end up believing it, which makes sense. That's just the world. So you might as well believe something useful. Who cares if the belief is true? If it's useful, why not have it?
Yeah, that's actually true. It's like a good point on which saying. So, what's your biggest? You would say your biggest win so far this year?
Biggest win? Two things. Number one, at 7th level, was at the age of 17, obviously, getting to the point where Yash and I were managing, training their entire sales team to get them to a record month of 3.5 million. That's number one. And then eventually out like that month, I don't think you understand how hard I was working and how hard I was pushing because I collected more than the rest of the team combined. At the biggest B2C sales training company in the world, which is also an Inc. 5000 company, meaning a 5,000 fastest growing company in the entire world. And I had to collect more than the rest of the team combined while managing, training, and everything else. And I did it for free. The president of the company offered me a base. He offered to pay me a base to do the management and everything. And I was like, no, dude, I do it because I love it, because I want to help the people. I'm just going to keep doing it for free. And I did. So like that's one. Number two, it was launching the consulting business. And then there was some like, not skepticism, that's the wrong word. There was some, actually I take that back. There was no hesitation or skepticism. I already knew it was going to work. But at the beginning, it was like, how fast is it going to work? And so like our kind of initial goal was like, okay, we're going to take it slowly. We're going to get a couple of clients, work with them, figure it out, and then grow it. And then from there, like we'll start scaling. But then the first month, literally just off making the content with the amount of inbound DMs and stuff that Yash and I got, we ended up doing like 50K profit our first month, like our first 30 days. And so I was just like, okay, might as well. And we literally had to turn down clients because we filled capacity. We had to turn down clients and we had to like pipeline them. And we were like, oh, we can look at like future work together, but like for now, we don't really have the time to take on the project. So that felt really good. Those are my two biggest wins, I would say. And getting this new place near my parents because I wanted to go back home and like be able to spend more time with them. So that's another massive one.
So how would you define success for yourself?
That's an interesting question. Let me think about this. I want to give you a good answer.
We can return back on that after, so you have a little bit more time to
Okay.
think.
That's a
So let's
really
go.
great question. I actually haven't thought about that in a long time.
So what these questions are like a little bit more on like vision and values.
No, perfect,
So
perfect. I love that. It makes me
like
think.
so what values guide your decisions every day?
I think loyalty, work ethic, and adaptability are my main three values, and I kind of learned that from my mentor, Yash, my original mentor. Now we're business partners, obviously. I think those are my three main values that I make decisions with, because it doesn't just allow you to make a lot of money, but it allows you to have great relationships with not friends, but like brothers. Because I have no doubt Yash could be in a room with 10 other guys that are all talking shit about me, and he would not say a single word negatively about me, and he would stand up for me. I know that for a fact inside of my heart, and I'll do the same thing for him. So I think having people like that where you know they're in your corner no matter what, it requires you to value loyalty massively, and it requires you guys to be allies, not friends. And the difference is a friend will do what makes you feel good, what makes you happy, not what makes you productive. I think an ally by definition is somebody who, when you guys are together, you guys become better people. And most people don't have that. This is a really interesting concept. Back when I was in school, people would become friends and think they were friends, but in reality, they were just shared obsessions. This kid likes smoking weed, this kid likes smoking weed, fuck it, let's go out together. Right? This kid likes soccer, this kid likes soccer, let's go together. That was majority of friendships. Because what happens after they go to college? Do the majority of them stay friends? No. Because it was a shared obsession. And now they find new people with shared obsessions. The difference is an ally. It's not about an obsession or what you have shared. It's about growing. One of my best friends, his name is Alberto Morati. He has nothing to do with business. He makes no money. He's an actor, but he's a great guy. And I think when we are together, we make each other better, is my belief. Right? I don't know when this podcast is being released, hopefully a little bit in the future. I paid for his birthday party. He doesn't know about it. And I convinced him that I spoke to the owner and got him to do it for free. Alberto, if you see this, I'm sorry, bro. But like fundamentally, that's just because like it's about having great friends that do shit for each other and have other people's best interests at heart. So I think that's what an ally is. Somebody where when they get together, they make each other better. And I don't think enough people have that. They just have shared obsessions. So I think now, like, when it comes to values, going back to your point, I think in order to have allies who want to be with you, you need to have, number one, obviously a high loyalty, because if not, they're not going to trust you. A high work ethic, I think is extremely important, because like, if I see somebody who's lazy, who works 5 hours a day, I don't want to fucking talk with you. Get the fuck out. And then number three, adaptability. Because adaptability is where I go from some level Inc. 5000 company to in a consulting company and 50K profit our first month. That's adapting. Most people would spend the first month trying to make a fucking logo for the company. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's the difference, and that allowed me to have allies. So I kind of constructed my morals and my values around what I wanted for my life, which I think is key.
So what if for people at our age that want to find other peers like this type of peers, real brothers that help each other and uplift each other?
But why do you need them?
Yeah.
Like, people don't get this. When I first started in business, there's a period where you have to go through that, and it's a test to yourself and to other people. When you're broke and you're making no money and you have to start working and start actually doing shit and being a productive member of society, the other productive members of society don't view you as productive yet because you haven't built yourself. There's a period when you can't speak with people above you because you haven't done anything that deserves their attention, but you also can't be around the old people who kept you being poor and doing nothing with your life. So there's a period of time when you have to get out of that and make a decision. I have this period now where I can't speak to those people and I can't speak to these people, so I just have to be alone and build myself and make the most of myself. Because in that period of time, you're developing your skill sets. You're becoming mentally strong. You have months where you're alone, you're lonely. That's mental toughness. That's strength. More pain? Good. It's a good thing. And you have to develop yourself. There's no point in looking for those people because they're not interested in looking for you. When you get to a point where you've built yourself up to a certain point, those people are interested in looking for you. They want to be around you. So like, it feels good. It's the feel-good answer to look for people who have the same mindset and everything else. That's a feel-good answer. It's not the truth, though. It's just not. You have to build yourself first, and then you can go up with those other people. When I first started getting into higher circles, and this wasn't even like high circles, this is like what I used to think was rich, right? So like when I started speaking to people doing like $100,000 a month or stuff, like the first person who I spoke to at that level was Dylan Wilson. And it's because I went through his program, I made money, I made something of myself. In that period where I hadn't made anything of myself, I was not speaking to those people. People don't understand this. I could not speak with somebody that far above me because I hadn't done anything. It was lonely. And then eventually I had success. Dylan saw it and he was like, cool, I'm going to introduce you to my circles. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. And that's when I first got into the circles of people making like $100,000 a month. Same thing. When I was in that circle making $100,000 a month, I could not speak with people doing $1 million a month. I couldn't. So I stopped hanging out with the people doing $100K a month. I had another solo period, which was at 7th level, months on end. I can literally show you text messages. I texted all those old people and I was like, guys, I can't talk for months. I will see you in 6 months. I'm just going to get to work. And I did. 6 months later, I'm training an Inc. 500 company as a 17-year-old. I did my shit. I did what I have to do. Running sales organizations for a company doing $3.5 million a month. Now I can speak with people doing $1 million a month because I can give them value because I'm in the circle. And so now that's the people that I'm around.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Yeah. So you cannot presume to have a certain level of people around if you are not at a certain level.
Exactly. Sure. And that goes back, like that's exactly correct because that goes back to like one of my fundamental core beliefs is like the role of a man is not to be happy, it's to be productive. Because so many people, they get caught up in what they feel. That's a dangerous trap. When you're in high school and you go to parties, you drink, you do drugs, whatever, it's because of the feeling that it gives you. You hang out with people that are bad for you, the feeling. You have a toxic girlfriend, the feeling. It's the feeling. That's what fucks you up. When you move away from the feeling and you start going towards productivity, logic, data, decisions, moving forward, progress, that's when you succeed as a man. And by the same standard, the only thing that isn't like going to a party, drinking, yeah, that's feeling. At the same time, being an entrepreneur, trying to be around other people, like-minded individuals, whatever the fuck that means, right? Trying to do that when you haven't built anything of yourself, it's because of the feeling. You don't want to feel lonely. You don't want to feel like you're going through the hard shit, but it's necessary. It's required for success.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. So the number one personal goal and the number one financial goal in 5 years' time.
All of my financial goals aren't around myself because, bro, at $50K a month, there's nothing like, put it this way, there's nothing I can't get that I really want besides the crazy shit like private jets or like yachts and stuff. Like obviously I can't do that. I can't buy them, I can rent them. So all my financial goals, you said personal and financial, right? Okay, so I'll start with financial. Financial, before I'm 21, I want to be an 8-figure entrepreneur. So I want to be doing at least $1.5 million a month of revenue. So I want to be around 20 million a year or whatever the math is on that. That's definitely not the math on that. I think it's like 15 million a year. But regardless, I want to be an 8-figure entrepreneur before I turn 21. Number 2, I want to start a charity, but not a charity that just goes around like begging people for money because I think that's kind of stupid. I want to start a nonprofit, like a company, where all the profit goes to those charities or a foundation. That way it's self-sustaining, so it can actually keep itself alive without just having to like beg. You know what I mean? So those are the 2 things on a financial aspect. On a personal aspect, I want to, this will sound stupid, I want to get married before I'm 21. I don't know why. It's just like, I just feel like I know people well enough and I know psychology to where I can find the person who's the right one for me a lot faster, is my opinion. Maybe that's ego. It probably is. I don't care. That's number one. Number two, I want to get to 160 pounds body weight, right? I think that's going to be like my ideal. Right now I'm like 145. I have like very low body fat. I think I'm like 8% or something like that, 7%. So I want to get to 160 muscle, and then those are honestly all my personal goals. I want to get a vacation home for my family where like anybody can go whenever they want, whatever, and I'll pay for everything. I want to just be able to spend more time with my brothers and my parents. And I think now me coming to Houston was part of fulfilling that role or that goal, because I get to be around them, right? They live here. We can go to dinner every Sunday. We can have a good time. I get to speak with them. Like, it's good. And then I can fly out to see my brothers whenever I want. I can do whatever I want. So that's already kind of been fulfilled. But yeah, those are kind of my plethora of goals.
And so, what kind of legacy do you want to leave in this world?
What kind of legacy?
It comes to the question I asked you before. How do you define success for yourself? It's like something a bit ahead of time, but...
I think it's a kingdom. I think it's a movement, ultimately. I think I have two kind of main. So my number one like mission that kind of drives me, and this is the first time that I've been able to like say a mission and actually be driven by it, is like that mission of making sales education available to the youth for free. That actually drives me. And that's why I don't have any courses or coaching or anything like that, just because like my mission, I'm not going to bullshit about it, right? So that's number one. Number two, it's the kingdom. And I think what a kingdom is, if we look back to like old centuries and stuff, I want to have kids who end up learning that same mindset, who can develop that mental strength to succeed in the world, whether it's by building a business, whether it's by becoming a pro soccer player, like I don't care. They can do whatever they want, but they have to be the best of it. You don't have a choice. And I will make sure you're the best at it, whatever you do. And so I think it's instilling those same belief systems that have allowed me to be successful at a young age into my children. And just having a great, loving family that ends up leaving like a dynasty, where all of those kids can have that mental strength and they can do great things. They can have massive impact on the world. And then their kids, they can instill those same beliefs in them. And it's just like a funnel. It just gets wider and wider and wider, more impact. I think that's ultimate legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have like a relationship with God? You can say that, or you don't believe. What is like your belief on that?
I do believe. I'm Christian, Catholic. You see, it's an interesting question, because if God didn't exist, what's the point of doing any of this? What's the point of living, of succeeding, of doing anything if God doesn't exist? Because then, like, I don't think it's possible for us to have the life that we have without God, because if there's nothing after, what's the point of the life that we have now? If God doesn't exist, the purpose of life would be to feel. I want to feel good in this moment. I want to feel happy. That would be the purpose of life if God doesn't exist, because there's no higher purpose. And I think, fundamentally, I think that's actually what society has moved towards. And I know there's a lot of people who talk about this like a godless society, and I think that's what's kind of happened. And if you look at it, now people do what they feel. Somebody decides to change their fucking gender, or decides to, I don't know, like any of the crazy shit that happens in society, more kids drinking, partying, doing stupid shit than ever, less people actually going out there, like masculine and female roles reversing. There's no border in between them. Now it's just a blurred line. I think all of that comes from a godless society. Because if it's all about what we feel, this person feels like changing their gender. This person feels like going out and drinking. This person, I don't know, feels like not working hard. Feels like not having kids. It's all based on a feeling. And I think that's very, very dangerous. OnlyFans even. If you look at that, if you look at like that, I call it like a disease, like a virus. If you look at that, it's like, it's because it's based on what they feel. It's easy. That's fundamentally a girl doing OnlyFans is choosing a feeling and a result over a moral or a principle. That's what it is. You're choosing, I can make a lot of money. I have men who want to pay me this amount of money by doing this. It's the easy route out. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to get this result. I don't care about the moral or the principle or the value behind it. And so that's where I think society has drifted. And that's why I think there is no society without a God, because then it's all based on what we feel. And all that stuff just becomes more and more rampant over the years in society. And I think that's self-destruction. It is.
That's a good point. It's like a very large argument to talk about. You made a good point in a short amount of time. So we go on. I return a little bit on your routine, on the things you do every day. Do you believe in balance, or is this a grind season for you and you have like moments where you a little bit more enjoy life? Like I know that enjoying life for you maybe it's working, okay, but there's like some season that you say now I'm grinding, and some season that you say like I'm resting for now.
I don't think there is such thing as rest. I think it's changing what you focus on and what the work is that you do. Like, if and I want to win at anything I do. If it's getting a girlfriend, getting a wife, I want to be the best at it. I want to get the best wife, the one that's going to be the most loving, that I care about the most, that I love the most, so we can have the most productive existence. If it's making money, I want to be the best at that. I want to win. I want to do it faster than anybody else, more successfully than anybody else. If it's helping people, I want to get more views on the content, more people in a free course, more people in free coaching. Like, I want to win at anything I do. And so there's no break for me. It's just a shift in what the work is that I do. Right now, it's purely focused on basically the consulting business, doing that kind of work all day. I think as I get a little bit older, it's going to shift more towards health, probably, and relationships. Probably getting a girlfriend, dating a little bit, getting married. I think that'll be... But I guess that's hard, right? Because then you don't consider that work. Well, I guess it depends how you define work. I think to some degree it's work. Focus, you could call it focus. So I think my focus shifts. It'll shift to fitness, it'll shift to getting relationships, etc. But yeah, I don't believe in breaks. I don't believe in that.
Yeah, it's like there are a lot of people that think about going working. It's the same thing. It's focus. Okay, so focusing, for example, on school, on business for a lot of time made people think, now I need a break. But in the break, they actually waste time, and they are not productive, and they actually don't enjoy so much the break because they break and not doing something else. The best thing is like the worst thing is actually breaking and staying there watching the clouds or something like that, you know.
Because even like, and this goes like, everything goes back to this, the concept of like doing what you feel rather than what's productive. I think at the end of the day, even happiness comes from progress. Like, as you progress, you feel happy. Whether it's with business, money, helping people, relationships, whatever it is, progress is happiness. And so whenever you take a break, it's because it feels good in the moment. It's pleasure, not happiness, not fulfillment. I don't think happiness is the right word. I think fulfillment is the right word. And so, yeah, I fully agree with you on that. It's like the breaks, like you just end up doing stupid stuff that doesn't actually progress you, and you don't feel fulfillment from that.
Yeah, we have a lot of ambition guys, more and more, at this age now that it's easier than it was 50, 60, 100 years ago to get in business and get results at a young age. So what's the first thing someone should do if they want to follow your path?
Don't start a business, for the love of God. I would not start a business. I would figure out what's your core skill set that you're not good at but could be good at. So for me, I'm very good at reading people, and I always have been from like childhood and stuff. So like naturally, if you're good at reading people and you're very interested in psychology and stuff like that, maybe sales is the way to go. If you're very antisocial, you hate speaking with people, you sound very nervous when you speak, but you like psychology, for example, maybe marketing is the way to go. If you love math equations and just like A plus X equals B or whatever the hell they talk about, right? Then maybe operations is the thing for you. So I think it's figuring out like what are your core skill sets and then extrapolating it out into a skill set that would apply to business. And then from there, what I would recommend is you get a mentor. Now, ideally, the best way to do it is honestly just to pay for it. Like I've paid for so many mentors, I can't even count. But if you can't pay for it, and regardless, even if you do pay for it, I would go work for somebody who has that one skill set that you extrapolated out. I'd go work for somebody who's already mastered that. So for me, going to 7th level initially is because of my mentor, Yash, right? Again, now we're business partners, but back then he was like my sales mentor. And so I went to go work there so I could be more directly in contact with him. He'd be more bought into my success. And so I ended up going there. And from that, now my life is purely sales because I mastered that skill set. My marketing, my content, sales. It's videos of me objection handling and stuff like that. Me acquiring clients, I have to sell. Me fulfilling on the clients, the service delivery, it's sales, helping them sell better. It's all sales because I mastered that one skill set and I built a business off the back end of that. If you take somebody like Ravi Abuwala, for example, I don't know if you guys know him, his is purely marketing. His marketing is about how to get better at marketing. His sales is, his entire angle is you don't need sales calls, you need better marketing so that people sell themselves through content. That's his sales. So people buy online or they get onto a sales call ready to buy. Like they have no objections, you don't even have to take them through a discovery. Very good at marketing. His service delivery is helping people do better marketing. All marketing. Mine is all sales. And then anything that you're not good at, like very, very nuances. So for him, for example, maybe it's operations. Maybe he's not as good at that. He hires somebody to do the operations and he's taken care of. Because he built a business off a skill set that he was already great at. So I'd say pick a skill set, go work for somebody who's very great at that skill set, learn from them, and then start a business using that skill set. That's like the game plan, if you will.
And what are for you the most important, like the most profitable skill sets you would go now, or like taking a different type of skill set depending on one single person and say, okay, there are 5 types of main skill set. I have to understand where to go, but which are these types of skill set a person should go through?
I think the best 2 are sales and marketing and operations. And AI. That's another one, actually.
Okay, so these 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Having these, how many hours do you think a new person in this field has to work or practice that to be at a certain level that he can compete?
That's hard, man, because different people think differently. This will sound egotistical, but it's not. I have a very high IQ. When I take IQ tests and stuff, so I can find patterns a lot faster. Now, that's an advantage and a disadvantage. I also get bored of things extremely easily, because once I find the pattern, it no longer interests me. Trying to find the pattern, super engaging. I can obsess over it. Because IQ, by definition, is pattern recognition. That's what it is, ability to recognize patterns. So since I have a high IQ, I feel very drawn to uncovering things and figuring things out. Once I do, though, then it becomes very boring. So I don't think there's a set number of hours. I think you should measure it off performance. If I can go into any company and triple their sales or conversion rates and everything as a sales rep, then I know I'm pretty damn good. If you're in marketing and the industry average is to have, a $50 cost per book call and you get a $20 cost per book call, great. Maybe run a couple different ads with different angles and try to get all of them to $20 cost per book call, because then you have a repeatable strategy, and then start a business on it. Go sell it to other people. Since it's repeatable and you already learned it and you had mentors to teach you, now you go into a different business and you succeed. So I think it depends, but it's all performance based.
So let's make an example here. Maybe it could help someone that want to start something right now. If you would do something like you have this passion and you know you're good at making things with AI, what is the path you should take to actually get in the game and have results in the game for you?
I would find somebody very, very good at AI. So like there's AI automation agencies, most of them are scams, but some of them are good, right? You can find like one of those to go work for if they already do $500,000, $1 million a month, for example. There's a lot of like, and you can literally look it up on YouTube, AI automation agency, find somebody who's very good at it, convince them to work for them completely for free. You're probably gonna have to get them bought into your success. You're gonna have to send looms. You're gonna have to email every email you can possibly find in the company so they see how driven you actually are. Like you're gonna have to do things when you figure it out. Like for me, for example, what got me interested in AI, is I started thinking AI is the future. Nobody questions that statement. So how can I implement it into what I do now? And so I started asking around, like Austin, for example, the guy that's on our team, he does a ton of AI stuff for the content, a ton. So I started seeing like, how does he do it? What AIs does he use? What information does he feed it? What I ended up doing is I went on ChatGPT, I got the premium version, and I sent it an hour-long voice notes telling it everything about myself. Everything. My psychology, my childhood, how I grew up, how I feel in different moments, what I do, my business models, all the analytics of every video I've posted on YouTube and Instagram, the people I hang out around, the place that I'm at, showed it pictures of the new place. So it could tell me where to record content. Like I told it everything about my life, my relationship with my brothers, my parents, like everything. And then based on that, then I could ask you any questions that I wanted to. Am I thinking about this wrong? Analyze me psychologically. Like, where am I missing things? I could ask it stuff like that. With the content, I could do an analysis where I did this. I sent every video from my Instagram and YouTube to it. I asked it to analyze the videos, and I sent the transcripts for each one. And it analyzed like the lighting in the background. It analyzed what time of day was the best to record it. Analyzed what type of lighting I have from the front. Is it 45 degrees this way? Is it head on? It analyzed what type of caption should I have for the text, for the title, because I tried different styles and stuff, right? I analyzed even one key insight that it gave me is whenever I started a video, having like a confused facial expression at the beginning or like more conflicting, like that, the retention went up, the 3-second retention. So I started doing that in more videos, right? I go into objection handling with somebody and I see the camera and it's like, oh, I got to do this. And then I'm like this, waiting for them to give me the objection on purpose, right? Because I know that's what's going to help. So like doing analysis like that, I think that's kind of the future of AI. I'd find somebody very good to work underneath and then learn from them and apply the same principles.
Yeah, was something you wish you knew when you started at 16?
Something I wish I knew. I don't think I wouldn't change anything about how I went about it. I really wouldn't. Because everything that's happened, whether it's bad or good in the journey, all built me towards where I am now. And it all created specific beliefs, right? Like me at the beginning, not being able to work a 16-hour day and getting frustrated because it's like, I just want to work, but I can't. My brain just is fried. I can't work. Like, if that had never happened, yeah, I could say, oh, I wish I could have worked 16 hours back then because then I would have been more productive. But if that never happened, I never would have realized the importance of mental toughness. And then I never would have started doing the things that I did. I never would have woken up at 4:30 and within 90 seconds timed it and made sure I was in a cold plunge. I never would have worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end. I never would have become lonely on purpose for months on end. I never would have done that stuff. So I think any of the bad or good things, I think it ultimately led to a fantastic outcome that I wouldn't change.
Yeah, you told me that you get bored easily, and so how do you stay focused on avoiding distractions?
This is exactly what I was saying earlier. If you can feel something, but not act based on that feeling, that's what Stoicism is, essentially. You can feel a lot of feelings, but you don't act based on it. You delay the response time to something negative or positive happen. That's stoicism. So I think by that same concept, I think that's what it is. Like I get bored easily, but so what if I'm bored? If I have something to do, I got to do it. Doesn't matter. I think that's the biggest thing.
And what mindset did you make like a mindset shift from before that you were partying? We talked about that before. I want to go a little bit deeper on that. From before to after, what was your turning point? How would you say? Like you told me like the injury was a turning point. Was there something else?
Yeah. The other one I would say is I was at a party one night and I hadn't decided I was going to do this. I thought I might, but I hadn't decided. And I was like jumping around party to party, blah, blah, blah. And I got blackout drunk with a couple of friends, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up cracking open a pen, taking a sewing needle, dipping it in the ink, and then giving myself a tattoo on my leg, a stick and poke, which I have to this day. It's like permanent, never going to go away. And when I woke up, it was realizing that I wasn't in control of myself, of my own outcome, my own destiny. I think that was another major turning point because it taught me a really, really big lesson in that, right? And that's the definition of doing what I feel versus what's productive. Was going out there, getting blackout drunk because I felt like it, doing a tattoo because I felt like it and I thought it'd be cool, which it is pretty cool, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right? And then from there, shifting into business. I think that was another turning point. And the other major turning point was when I was at home, and it's that story I said earlier where my mom was like, no, you cannot move. And I moved without telling them. In my first week, I got a dog, I got a lease, didn't see him for 3 months. That was another major turning point because it made me independent. It made me take accountability for myself.
Yeah, and tell why did you like transfer there and not staying at home? Like, was there a problem with the school, with the system?
I think there's a problem with every school system fundamentally in the fact that the entire point of it is to support the worst possible student. The goal of a school system, of an educational system, is to take the worst student and accommodate to him. Because if they were accommodating for the smartest kid, they wouldn't be going over the basics for 10 classes in a row talking about the exact same shit. They wouldn't. Not even if they were accommodating for the middle, because if they were accommodating for the middle, then all the lower kids would fail. The failure rates would be a lot higher. They accommodate for the lowest kid. And so from an educational perspective, if they accommodated for the highest, which is what I believe one-on-one coaching is and getting mentoring is, I think that's accommodating for the highest, accommodating for you, which is why I think it's so powerful. But accommodating for the lowest person means I would never be able to unleash my potential in the educational system. So I think that was the first issue from like an educational perspective. From a social perspective, it's what I was saying earlier where I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt inferior. And so I had to do something to become superior. And that ended up being my vehicle, which was business, sales, marketing. So those are the two flaws with the educational system, I think, is that they don't accommodate. And because entrepreneurship is so rare in school, if you think about the regular cliques, there's like the cool kids, which are usually kind of idiots, just to be frank. Like they go to parties, whatever, and they're competitive though. They are competitive. They want to win. They just want to win at different things. They have different values. So if you take I'm not going to be racist. If you take a really smart kid, right, and he is studying and working constantly 24 hours a day on his school material, he wants to win. But he wants to win at a very different thing than the football player who isn't necessarily very smart, but he also wants to win. He's competitive just at something else. So for me, because I was in my own little category, like I wanted to have the social adaptness and intelligence that those people have, while also having the smarts and creativity and intelligence that the other people had. But there was no group with both. That doesn't exist because it's a very rare thing.
Yeah.
That's why I had to go outside of it. So I think that's another flaw with it. So 3 flaws. There's a lot more, trust me. Those are the first 3.
So, what role has failure or rejection played in your journey?
It's everything. Failure, rejection, it's everything. It's mental toughness. When you can go, like, somebody who tells me, I go through calls and I get rejected and I feel like shit. If you've gone through so little hard stuff in your life that somebody telling you no on a sales call, which literally has no impact, because you can just go to the next one, actually hurts you, you've not gone through enough hard shit in your life. And the only way to build that and to go through more hard stuff and to develop that mental toughness to where it doesn't affect you and you can be successful is to create that for yourself. That's what I say every time. That's what I preach. So if it's in sales, it's back what I was doing. I was taking 30, 35 calls a day. Because I was creating the hard stuff for myself. It was working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end. Because that was mental toughness. That's what it built in me. Right? So when people talk about rejection or failure, they view it as a negative thing. And even people that say, no, it's positive, like you're a failure, you're closer to the next win, they say it, but they don't believe it. And you can hear it most of the time. Most people don't believe that losing or a bad thing is actually good. They don't have that fundamental belief, but I think it's a very positive one. Right? So I wouldn't be the man I am today had I not had gone through so much rejection and failure and everything else. But it was viewing that as a good thing, which is what helped me, what pushed me, because it built the mental strength.
Yeah, for sure. Now it's like we are doing a little bit the last part of the podcast. I have some questions that are a bit random. It's not actually the normal question of a podcast, but are short, so you can answer pretty fast.
This will be interesting, my brother.
Yeah. So, what's one thing people misunderstand about you?
One thing people misunderstand about me. I would like to be I would like to think that I'm very open. So like I'd like to think that there's no belief or anything that I intentionally hide from the world. One thing a lot of people don't know about me is that I actually don't like sales. Like I greatly dislike it. Like I hate it. And part of it is kind of what I was saying earlier, where like when you have a high IQ, you recognize the pattern, but then it just becomes boring. And I have ADHD at the same time, which I believe ADHD is a great thing, like one of the best things that could happen to me, right? But because of those combinations, I get very, very bored easily. And so like now that I've gotten so good at sales to where I can teach it to people, I can do it myself, I can destroy virtually anybody at it, it's hard to get myself to get on a call and be like, this is exciting, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like it's not there. But if I have that belief that you need to do what's productive and what pushes you forward, not what you feel, then I have to do it anyways. So you could say not a lot of people know that about me, that I don't even like sales, and I never have. You could say that.
Yeah, that's actually funny. So, can you give us 3 minutes masterclass very fast on how you close a deal?
Start to finish, everything?
Yeah, everything.
Okay. 2 or 3 minutes? It's gonna be interesting. Okay. Fundamentally, if you think about stages, I think about direction, number one, which is what conversation does this person have to have? So if somebody comes in saying, let's say you're selling lead generation, for example, marketing help. Somebody comes in, they say, I want more appointments. It's a different conversation than if they say, I want more leads. And the entire conversation has to be around what they say they want, because what somebody wants is what they don't have. So if somebody comes in and they say, I want more leads, for example, I want higher quality leads, let's pretend. Then when I go into the current stage, my first question is going to be like, okay, well, what are you doing to get leads now? Oh, well, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And then I'm going to ask more questions about their situation. Versus if somebody tells me I want more appointments, well, what are you doing to get appointments now? Somebody says they want sales process help. Well, what do you do now for your sales process? A conversation around what they want. Because what they want is what they don't have. What they don't have is the problem. So if you sell what they don't have and the problem, they're always going to buy. That's number one. After you go through current state, you uncover more around their situation, what they have now, etc. And then you go into problem discovery questions, which it's like, for example, if somebody says, oh, I currently am doing referrals, word of mouth. And it's like, well, I mean, that's a fairly like decent strategy. I guess, well, what even has you looking like a different one? Oh, well, like it's just capped. How do you mean by capped? And then you probe. How long has that been going on for? Has that an impact on X, Y, Z, etc.? So then you probe another problem. That's the first stage of a sales conversation. Second stage is an identity shift. Extremely important, shifting their identity. Before you and I were speaking, like, were you, I guess, out there looking for, like, I guess, other ways to, like, get more of those leads so, like, you could scale the business? Or, like, what were you, I guess, actually doing about that? Oh, no, I wasn't looking. Okay, well, I'm curious, what actually prevented you? Oh, well, I don't know, I didn't have the money. Or my business partner said no, I didn't have the time, whatever it is. Whatever objection they give you right there, you have to understand it's an internal thing. If somebody tells me I didn't have money, that's an external thing, which isn't what I'm looking for. So I have to flip it internal. So then I ask them, well, like, can I make a suggestion, Eduardo? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, because I'm a big believer in, like, if there's a will, there's a way, right? Because I'll give you an example. When I was 16 years old and I first invested in myself, the first program, first mentorship, I went around begging my neighbors, my parents, anybody who I could find to piece together a little bit of money to do it. Because when there's a will, there's a way. So my question to you, man, isn't like, did you have the money or did you not have it? It's, and actually think about it, be real with me. What prevented you from having the will to actually go and find the money, though? Oh, well, I didn't know if it was going to be worth it. I thought I would fail. I didn't believe in myself. Internal. Identity shift. And then you have to learn how to reframe it. Now, if you don't know how to reframe it, you're going to have to go check my Instagram because I don't have an hour to go explain that right now, right? But that's a fundamental internal belief. After identity shifting, you go into a contrast, emotional contrast. This is how you get emotional buy-in on somebody to make a change. You take them through a dream state, what they want. You get them tangibles, you get them emotional of what they want in the future. You immediately do a cost of inaction and contrast it. Because if somebody's on this peak emotional state, they feel really good, and then you ask the question, the consequence, well, like, that makes sense, man. Like, on the flip side, like, what actually happens if you keep having the lower quality leads to where your salespeople are leaving because they're not making enough income, and then the business is just losing revenue for the next 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years? Like, what would that look like? And they go from this peak emotional high into a cost of inaction, negative feeling. That gap, that immediate contrast, emotional contrast, that's what creates the urgency for them to feel like they need to make a change. And then you go into a presentation. Was that a good?
Yeah. I was like, I felt that. I was like, send me what you want.
Yeah, that's my framework.
Yeah. Very good. So, what's something totally useless you are amazingly good at?
This is a good one. Well, I don't believe I've done anything totally useless in my entire life. Because if it was useless, why would I do it? Me playing soccer, yeah, it doesn't benefit me now, but it nurtured my competitiveness. That's why I can see competitors and be like, I'm going to destroy this person. I will not lose. I will win. Because I nurture that competitiveness. You're down 3-0 in a soccer game going into the second half. Now that's a different feeling. You learn that.
For sure. Yeah.
Like me, I'm pretty good at chess. I can beat most people at chess. Like, you could say it's useless, but that nurtured my intelligence, my pattern recognition, my creativity, being able to see 5 moves ahead in a chess game. Go into business, you can already see how everything's going to play out. Different people, different systems, different processes. You know how it's going to play out. I don't know. Like, I don't think there's anything useless I've ever done.
Yeah. Effectively, yeah. So we have never talked about conspiracy theories. Is there something you don't believe in but secretly wish was true?
I don't believe in, but secretly is true.
You wish it is true.
I don't believe in, but I wish it was true.
Yeah.
You mean like something that exists in society?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of conspiracy theories talking about society, talking about a lot of stuff. It's like, it's a pretty complex question.
Yeah, well, this isn't even a conspiracy theory. This is like founded in like actual truth, and like you can do research on it. I forget wow, that's a beautiful bird. I forget who it was. The person who had a part in designing the educational system in America was buddies with the person who did the research to build the Nazi camps for their army. And the person who built the educational system, I could be getting this completely wrong. I think it was Rockefeller. That could be
yeah.
They literally have quotes saying that the whole purpose of the educational system was to build slaves for the corporate world. They have quotes saying that. At the beginning, workers. At the beginning, it was factory workers, and then it shifted to engineers and all this other stuff. And it makes sense, because in society, like, you can't blame them for doing that. It is a smart thing to do, because in society, if everybody was an entrepreneur, nothing would work. However, I don't think everybody's built for entrepreneurship in the first place. So if everybody had more creativity and everybody was more free, I think people at least deserve to know that they're being conditioned. And that the whole point of the educational system was to condition them. Now, whether you view that as a bad thing or a good thing, you can make your own decision on that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, because we need those people. We do need the factory workers and the workers in society. Like, I need them. Make more of them. Like, I'm over here. Bring them on, right? But, so yeah, you can view it as a good thing or a bad thing, but that is something that I kind of wish wasn't true, or I kind of wish more people knew about it. But people either don't want to believe it because then they feel like a slave, which in reality is kind of what they are, or they just don't know about it. It's one of the two.
What's your most unpopular opinion?
That men should not care about their feelings.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, yeah. I think I heard about that in the last days, never before. It's like there is a large topic on what's the purpose of men, what's the purpose of life, and there's a lot of discussion in entrepreneurship, a lot in entrepreneurship, in psychology as well. So
yeah,
but it's actually a good point what you made, because you explained me well. So something else. If aliens landed and you were Earth representative, what would you say?
Well, it depends how powerful they are. They would kill me, I'd probably be pretty nice. But if they look like a little bitch, I'd probably steal their spaceship and start engineering it or something. I don't know. Cross the world. I don't know. I'll tell them we're a fantastic species. We believe in God. God created all of us. I don't think I would tell them much. I think I would ask more questions than I would tell, because I want to know more about them. And if I know more about them, then I know how I want to approach the conversation with them. If they're much more powerful than us, then I'd try to befriend them and obviously take their technology and use it to develop the human race. If they are less powerful, then I guess we would be the ones on their planet, so I guess they have to be more powerful. So I'd probably try and befriend them and figure out what technology and everything else that they have.
You know, it's like it's a different response on how different people could answer to this question. You see, I see like you're very good at communication, so you would say, I'll ask them questions, okay? So it's like this actually breaks down who you truly are, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like the word of selling. I just read a book about selling, about Zig Ziglar.
That's the other thing. I'd probably try and sell them some like corporate deal or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll manufacture your spaceships for a fraction of the cost.
So it's like many people view sales in a wrong way, in a bad way, but it's actually communication. Sales is actually communication and giving value to people,
Precisely.
offering what people need.
Yeah.
And Ziegler says as well, the the salespeople are the ones that build our nation.
Yeah. There's more, I think if you look at statistics, I think there's more salespeople than any other job in the world. I believe, I could be wrong on that, but I know, I'll look at the statistic right now. What percent of the population is salespeople in America? Almost 10% of the national workforce is salespeople. That's an insane amount of people. And they run the world because that's the communication between companies. You do a B2B deal, even people's public perception of salespeople is like terrible. Number one, that's because of a lot of like old pushy salespeople, which is complete bullshit. I don't believe in any of that. But the world wouldn't work without salespeople. Waiters are considered as salespeople. Store clerks are considered salespeople. The person who you buy your phone from at a Verizon store, T-Mobile store, or whatever, salesperson. Whenever you call, I just got this new penthouse from a salesperson. When I called to set up the Wi-Fi for this place, which is over there, I had to call and I spoke with a salesperson. Like, it's all sales. When I buy this light in front of me, salesperson. When I buy this fucking jacket from Italy, salesperson. All of it, salespeople. But then people view it as a bad thing, and it's the stupidest thing in the world. It's like, so what are you going to do? Go sell them yourself? Like, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So,
and
if you...
one more thing.
Yeah.
If everything in life is sales, you asking somebody out on a date, that's sales. You going to a store clerk, him trying to sell you more product, if that's sales. You going on Amazon, they try upselling you a different product, that's sales. If everything in life is sales, you might as well be good at it. Because why not?
This is a really good quote. Yeah. So it's like viewing sales in a different way. Like, a lot of people don't think about that, but sales is actually one of something that we live every day and we don't realize that. Like,
Yeah.
every person is like a salesman. The fact is that the people that do that for work are viewed bad, but you have to sell yourself to companies when you apply for work,
Exactly.
to university if you have to make an application. It's like we are all salespeople.
Exactly. And sales is the number one job, besides a skill set, as a job where you can change the most lives. If you're a doctor, you can operate on a limited amount of people. If you're a salesperson and you do a B2B deal, for example, even between like a charity, for example, versus another company to give them funding, and then that charity goes and saves 100,000 lives, you saved 100,000 lives indirectly. Me even, like, I rarely do one-on-one coaching. I think I've coached probably 10 people in the past 6 months, like one-on-one. I have to like really like you to do that, and I've gotten a shit ton of DMs about it. There's a kid like Russell Sage, for example. When I first got on a call with him, he DM'd me on Instagram asking for help. I called him on Instagram, objecting on him for 3.5 hours, sold him on spending every dollar in his bank account. He was a 16-year-old kid making like $500 a month, $1,000 a month. And last month, 10 months later, he's 17 now, turned 17 2 weeks ago. He did $170,000 cash collected last month, $250,000 revenue. Another kid, Dan Diaz, came to me when he was making $1,000 a month, 16-year-old living in Brazil, trying to support his family. In December, did $50,000 in commission, been averaging 30 to 35 ever since. Takes care of his entire family now, and he's 17. The amount of impact you can have on people's lives in sales is like absurd. If you learn the skill set right and you actually have the right morals, the right intent. Which I think fundamentally, if you don't have the right morals and the right intent, you won't be successful anyways. Because your reputation, word of mouth is always the number one determining factor of somebody's success in business. In a small scale, word of mouth doesn't matter. If you look at like an Apple or a Google, like becoming one of those massive corporations, biggest companies, word of mouth is the most important factor. You ask somebody, what phone should I buy? Everybody says iPhone. Unless you're a fucking weirdo. Everybody says iPhone. Word of mouth. Where should I use to do research? ChatGPT, Google, word of mouth. At scale, it's the number one determining factor. And so like, if you have good ethics and good morals and good sales skills, you can change so many lives. It's incredible. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's actually returning back on values and on purpose. Because as well, a lot of people see the people with a lot of money, like, okay, they want that, no, they are bad, you know. But it's like, I see a lot in guys of our age. I talk a lot with young entrepreneurs, and I see we all have a purpose more than the people and the guys that actually go partying all night, go and think, okay, now I get to university, I get to work, because they think about what they are doing for their family, okay, not what they are doing for the world.
Yeah. 1000%.
So, another question, if you can choose to stay a day with someone, would you prefer to go a day talking with Elon Musk or JD Rockefeller?
That's a hard one. That is a hard one. I think Rockefeller.
And why?
Because his genius to be able to have such a big impact on the world and like be able to control people, fundamentally control them without them even knowing about it. Like, how can you have that big of an impact on the world to where everybody's children, you control their children, you nurture their children, and they don't even know about it? And if you could have that skill set and that power, that influence, and use it for good, like, that's incredible. That is a different scale. Most people watching this will have no idea who he even is. Most people, none, zero. But he literally shapes their life. If there's a high school student watching this right now, which I bet there's at least a couple, he's shaped your life and you don't even know who he is. That's power. That's influence.
Yeah, I have actually last question about this type of questions. That is like, if you would have 5 minutes with Jesus, what would you ask him?
With Rockefeller?
No, with Jesus.
Oh, with Jesus.
Yeah.
I would ask him, his mental model around love, I think is very powerful.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, if you look at any hard qualities about a person, like me saying men shouldn't care about their feelings, somebody else saying, like, all those hard qualities are things on the surface. Working 18 hours a day, not caring what people think, getting made fun of, getting bullied, but still working. All those things come from a soft side. And I think Andrew Tate spoke about this. They all fundamentally, I think, they're rooted in love. Because, perfect example, if you spend, like, okay, that friend, Alberto, just in case he's watching this, I'm not going to say exactly how much, but I paid for his thing, a couple $100, whatever. Spending that felt 1,000 times better than if I had gone and bought myself something that was $1,000 or $500 or whatever. Felt 1,000 times better. And I think that's because of love. Because giving to others will always feel better than giving to yourself. Ultimately, I think. And so that means that it has to be rooted in love. And so, like, if I was with Jesus, I would ask him, like, how do you think about love? What's your mental model around love? And how does it impact your day-to-day decisions? I think would be the hardest thing. And then I would... It's a hard question. I would ask him, I would ask him where I'm missing in life, what I'm not seeing, what I'm blinded to. And I think those two questions would last a lot more than 5 minutes. So,
Nice one. Nice one. So, where can people find you?
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Andres. Just type my name, Andres Contreras, and you'll find it. Or YouTube, but honestly, mainly Instagram. And that's where I go over like identity stuff and objection handling and business consulting and all that type of jazz. So yeah, that's the main places people can find me.
And what people can expect you from the next months?
I'm about to start posting a lot more content. My highest overhead by far is content, and it's to help people. And so like I'm going to be doing like 4 posts a day kind of level, live clips of me objection handling, closing deals, like business strategy, even mindset and like beliefs and ethics and systems and stuff. Because I think that's fundamentally, I think as a young man, if you have the right beliefs, the right drivers, I think it doesn't matter what you do in life, you'll be successful at it. So that's what you can expect.
So this was the first actual video about our Edo Daves podcast. So hope you enjoyed that. And so thank you, Andres, for being here with us. It was a great pleasure for me. And this podcast was very good for me doing that because you were here. And so
and
see
guys,
you next time.
like this fucking video. Don't be a dickhead. Like this video to help Eduardo out. He's a great guy and great at interviewing.
So thank you for everything, and guys, see you in the next one.